Sometimes life takes away what you love the most. Sometimes the people around you say, "You're just a girl." This is a story for every girl who was told she can't. For those who were forced to let go of their dreams but kept hope quietly alive in their hearts. This is the story of Alina, a young village girl who almost lost everything she loved until one person, her father-in-law, helped her believe in herself again. In a quiet village surrounded by green rice fields and dusty roads lived a girl named Alina. She was only 16 years old, but her eyes shone with dreams much bigger than her small world. Every morning she walked miles to school, her feet covered in dust, yet her heart full of hope. She loved books, especially mathematics and English. Her teachers admired her dedication, and her classmates often looked up to her. When anyone asked, "Alina, what do you want to be when you grow up?" she would smile brightly and say, "I want to be a teacher. I want every girl in our village to study and dream just like me." She was one of the brightest students in her school, always standing first in class. Her marks were high, and her dreams were even higher. But life does not always allow dreams to fly freely. One evening, her father returned home from the market with a serious expression. "Alina," he said, "your marriage has been fixed. The boy belongs to a good family. You will live a happy life." Alina stood frozen. Marriage? "But Papa, my exams are next month. I want to finish school first." Her mother looked away and said softly, "It is decided, my child. It is time for you to take responsibility. A girl's real home is her husband's home." Alina cried the entire night. She begged and pleaded with her parents, but no one listened. Her books were packed away. Her school uniform was folded for the last time. And just like that, the brightest girl in the school became a bride at the age of 16. Her new home was in a distant village. Her husband, Ravi, was kind but quiet. Her mother-in-law was strict and expected her to manage all the household work. Days turned into weeks filled with cooking, cleaning, and endless chores. Her hands stayed busy, but her heart felt empty. She missed her books, her teachers, and the dreams she once carried so proudly. At night, when everyone was asleep, she would quietly open her old notebook, hidden in a small box, and whisper to herself, "I don't want to forget what I learned." She wrote small math equations on the back of old grocery papers and tried to recall English words from her lessons. Yet she felt completely alone. No one seemed to care about her dreams, or so she thought. One evening, her father-in-law, Mr. Dev, returned home earlier than usual. He was a retired school principal, a wise, calm, and soft-spoken man. While walking past the courtyard, he noticed a faint light coming from Alina's room. When he gently peeked inside, he saw her sitting under a dim lamp, writing something carefully. "Alina, what are you doing at this late hour?" he asked kindly. Startled, she quickly closed her notebook. "Oh, nothing, Babaji, just some writing." "Don't be afraid, child. I was a teacher for many years. I recognize that look. You were studying, weren't you?" She lowered her eyes. "Yes, but it doesn't matter anymore. Those days are over." Mr. Dev sat down beside her. "Who told you that dreams end after marriage? A good family should support a girl's dreams, not bury them." Alina looked at him in surprise. No one had ever spoken to her with such understanding. From that night onward, everything slowly began to change. Mr. Dev started bringing her old textbooks. Every evening, once the house grew quiet, he would sit with her in the small courtyard under the open sky. "You were a good student, weren't you?" he would ask gently. "Yes, Babaji. I loved school. I wanted to become a teacher." "Then let us begin again, slowly. No dream is too late if the heart is still willing to learn." He patiently taught her mathematics, explained English grammar, and gave her small homework assignments. Sometimes Alina would laugh and say, "Babaji, you are as strict as a real teacher." He would smile warmly and reply, "And you are my favorite student." Months passed. Alina's husband noticed her studying late into the night, but never stopped her. He respected the faith his father had placed in her. One morning, Mr. Dev told her, "Alina, there is a small school nearby that needs someone to help the young girls with reading and basic lessons. Why don't you go and try?" "Me?" she asked nervously. I am not a proper teacher yet. You have knowledge and a kind heart. That is more than enough to begin." Encouraged by his words, Alina went to the school. At first, she felt nervous and stumbled over her words, but the children's laughter soon helped her gain confidence. Within a few weeks, the little girls began to love her classes. They started calling her Teacher Alina. Word spread quickly through the village. Mothers who once kept their daughters at home now began sending them to school. People who had once asked, "What can a girl do?" now said, "We want our daughters to be like Alina." Her small classroom filled with laughter, questions, and growing hope. One evening, as Alina returned home, she found her father-in-law waiting near the gate. He was holding her old school certificate in his hands. "I visited your previous school," he said. "I told them about you. They have agreed to let you appear for a teacher's qualification test. If you pass, you can become an official teacher." "Babaji, you did all this for me? You did the hard work, my child. I only showed you the door. You are the one who walked through it." Alina studied harder than ever before. Every night she sat with Mr. Dev, revising lessons until late. On the day of the exam, her hands trembled with nervousness. "Don't be afraid," he told her calmly. "You are already a teacher in your heart. This exam will only prove it to the world." Weeks later, a letter arrived. Alina had passed the test with excellent marks. She was now officially a teacher. Tears of joy filled her eyes as she ran to her father-in-law and hugged him tightly. "Babaji, I did it." "No, we did it together," he said gently. "But the real strength was always inside you." Years later, Alina's small school had grown into a much larger one. Dozens of girls from nearby villages now studied there. Her husband fully supported her work, and her in-laws felt proud of her achievements. One afternoon, she noticed a little girl crying quietly outside the classroom. "Why are you crying, dear?" Alina asked, kneeling beside her. "My father says girls should not go to school," the girl replied through her tears. Alina smiled softly and wiped the girl's cheeks. "I once heard the same words, but dreams can grow even when kept in silence. Promise me you will never stop learning." The little girl nodded, her eyes shining with new hope. That evening, Alina stood beside her father-in-law, watching the golden sunset over the rice fields. "Babaji, sometimes I wonder what would have happened if you had not helped me." He smiled peacefully and replied, "Then perhaps someone else would have. Because when a dream is true and pure, life always finds a way to protect it." They stood together in comfortable silence as the sky turned orange, reflecting the quiet pride they both carried in their hearts. Alina's journey reminds us that even when the world says no, we should keep our hearts open for the one person who says yes. Sometimes hope comes from the most unexpected place, from someone who simply believes in our light.